Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We're gathered here to recognize the World Day of Remembrance for road traffic victims. Every year, 1.35 million people are killed in traffic crashes around the world. And in the United States, that number every year is 35,000 people. That's 35,000 of our friends, our neighbors, our family members. In the last 5 years, 57 people have died in traffic crashes on streets within the city of Madison. We are here today to remember, to honor, and to mourn those people whose lives have been lost. I ask you to take a moment to remember the mothers, fathers, children, siblings, and friends that are represented by the display behind us. And every time we come to speak about those that have been lost on our streets, I remember Warren Lewis Rhodes, my grandfather, and Taylor Kolb, my brother, who were killed in a traffic crash. And when I remember them, all of them, I know that remembering is not enough. We must also take action. We must make change. The city, along with our community partners on our Vision Zero Stakeholder Task Force, has committed to implementing our Vision Zero Action Plan. We ask everyone to join us in memory of those that we have lost, in making the changes that we need in our city. The city is moving forward with setting safe speed limits, redesigning our streets to prioritize safety over convenience, and filling the gaps in the sidewalk and bike network. In 2023, city projects on Broome Street, West Wilson Street, and Atwood Avenue will provide new roadway designs that reduce the size of the motor vehicle lanes, improve pedestrian crossings, and provide separated biking facilities. In 2023, the city will fully implement the 20-mile-per-hour speed limit on neighborhood streets and implement the first phase of the bus rapid transit project, making it easier to choose to travel by bus. The city is pursuing federal funds to accelerate safety improvements across our entire community. And we have ensured that our requests focus on equity. My budget includes the necessary matching funds to ensure that we can immediately leverage any federal funds we get to implement safety improvements for neighborhoods that are in the most need. And I'm happy to say that our efforts are working. Madison is starting to see change. In the first 3 quarters of 2022, overall crashes on our streets are down 6%, and fatal and serious injury crashes are down 29% from 2021. That means that what we're doing is working, but it's not enough yet. Our work is not done yet. Because this year, 3 people that were biking, 1 person that was walking, and 7 people that were traveling in motor vehicles were killed on our streets. That's too many people. I am committed to making the changes to ensure that our streets are safe for everyone to travel, whether they are walking, biking, driving, or getting onto a bus. I ask that everyone in the city of Madison join me in supporting the changes that make our streets safer. Let us remember the lost loved ones, and let us commit ourselves to meeting the goals of Vision Zero. And now it's my pleasure to introduce two speakers from our Vision Zero Stakeholder Task Force. First, we'll hear from Susan Gettert of 1,000 Friends of Wisconsin. Susan?
Thank you, Mary Satya. My name is Susan Gettert, and I am here on behalf of 1,000 Friends of Wisconsin. We are an organization dedicated to land use and transportation policies that promote healthy communities. We want to thank the City of Madison and Mayor Satya for inviting us to be here. I am here with all of you today to mark World Day of Remembrance for road traffic victims. We are experiencing a national crisis of pedestrian deaths and debilitating injuries from traffic violence. Each of these tragedies has a profound and lasting impact on the whole community. I once worked with a man who had permanent injuries requiring the use of a wheelchair, complex PTSD, severe anxiety, and alcohol abuse disorder as the result of a serious traffic crash. Among his struggles, he had a hard time maintaining healthy relationships and secure housing. I often wonder how his life and the lives of those around him would have been different if that crash could have been avoided. The compounding trauma and grief for thousands of people living with permanent injuries and the loved ones left behind is really difficult to fathom, and it's only getting worse. The number of people killed or seriously injured in traffic crashes has been on the rise for many years, especially since the COVID pandemic began in 2020. It's time to face some harsh truths. Those most affected by traffic violence are people in low-income communities, people of color, people with disabilities, children, and senior citizens. This is both a reflection and exacerbation of the disparities and inequities we see in so many other parts of our society, in housing, in education, in economic opportunities, and health outcomes. Our streets and roads were not designed for people. They were designed for vehicles, and the most vulnerable among us are paying the price. Speed and safety are not compatible on our city streets. We should not accept traffic deaths and serious injuries as an inevitable part of American life, and we don't have to. We can do better. In Madison, we are doing better because we know how to do better. We know what dangerous roads look like, and we also know how to build safe streets. There are elements of street design and transportation policy that are proven to be effective in reducing the harm of traffic violence. We know what works because we have seen it implemented worldwide and in United States cities also. And those places have seen a sharp decline in traffic deaths. Vision Zero is a public commitment to making systemic changes that we desperately need to address this crisis. It is time to invest in infrastructure and policy changes that will make our streets safer for everyone, especially those outside of vehicles. When you think about the lives saved and the grief spared, Vision Zero is about so much more than numbers. It is about compassion and community care. And we are in full support of the City of Madison's plan to move Vision Zero forward. Safe streets, save lives. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. Now I'd like to invite Harold Kleems, who's from Madison Bikes, to the podium.
Thank you. Thank you and good morning. My name is Harold Kleems and I'm president of Madison Bikes, a local bike advocacy group. So I'm here today because 3 members of the bike community cannot be here. 2022 has been an awful year for bike fatalities, with 3 Madison residents killed in traffic. Standing here in front of City Hall with the mayor for a press conference brings back memories. In June, we were here in the same spot It was a press conference to celebrate the start of Madison Bike Week. As we were getting ready, people whispered to each other, "Did you hear? Somebody on a bike was involved in a crash this morning. It was bad." We didn't have the details yet, but later that day we learned that it was a fatal crash. The person killed in that crash was Taylor Dunn. He was on the way to his job at a gas station on Mineral Point Road in the early morning when a driver struck and killed him. Then in early August, Will Cummings was out on a bike ride on the east side. Will was a cancer survivor and he had recently gotten a new e-bike. While he was biking on Flom Road, the driver of a box truck struck and killed Will. And then 2 weeks ago, it happened again. Tom Henninger, he was a retired music teacher on his way from his home near Brittingham Park to a conference at Monona Terrace. When Tom biked across John Nolan Drive, he was struck and killed. Each time somebody is killed while biking, walking, or driving, they leave behind great loss for their family, their friends, their community, and for our city. That loss puts an obligation to us, an obligation of remembrance to remember Taylor, Will, Tom, and all the others who died in traffic crashes. And also an obligation to do everything in our power to prevent future deaths. Madison needs to be a city where it's safe to bike to your job, where it's safe to go to a joyful bike ride, where it's safe to cross a major road. I truly believe in Vision Zero. Every death, every serious injury is preventable. Traffic crashes are not a tragic but an unavoidable fact of life, an accident as we often call them. We can build a city with protected bike lanes, with a sidewalk network, with safe crossings, with alternatives to driving. None of this is rocket science, but it takes commitment. It takes commitments from all of us, from citizens, as residents, as staff, as elected officials, us as advocates, and we need to work together to that. So I'm very glad that we're here together today to renew this commitment to Vision Zero, to eliminating all traffic fatalities and serious injuries. Thank you.
Thank you, Harold. I also want to acknowledge that Alder Patrick Heck is here with us and a number of city staff who have worked very hard on our Vision Zero program, and I thank them for their work. We are all here today to remember the lives that have been lost. But today, as all of us have said, is a day to highlight the urgent need for support of change. We cannot be complacent about preventable crashes. On this World Day of Remembrance for road traffic victims, I stand firm in my commitment to make the policy changes and the street design changes that will save lives in the city of Madison. Vision Zero is possible, it can be done, and it will be done in the city of Madison. Thank you. I think any of us would be happy to take questions if you have them. Are there any questions? No? All right, thank you all very much. Appreciate you being out here in the snow.